If you're a mortgage broker or financial advisor and you want to get more leads from your own website, then there are three things that you need to do. First off, you need to identify who your ideal kind of client is. Secondly, you need to attract those kinds of people to your website. And then thirdly, you need to make sure that your website is going to convert those people from visitors into warm leads. My name's David Miles from the PPC Machine, and those three steps, identify, attract and convert, form the basis of everything that I do with my private clients, and it's the same framework that I use to help the members of my group coaching program, the Predictable Pipeline program, to get a steady flow of leads from their own websites. If you'd like to learn how this system works, then keep watching, because this is the first of three videos where I'm going to take you through each of the steps of my identify, attract and convert framework and tell you what you need to do to implement this system into your financial services business. So as I said just now, the system that I use with mortgage brokers and financial advisors who want to get more leads from their own websites is a three-step one. And those three steps are that we first of all identify who the ideal client is, we attract them to the website as the second step, and for the third step is we convert those website visitors into leads. And in this video I'm going to go through what's involved in the identify section of that system. So this is all about identifying your ideal client, and the way we do that is, first of all, I think it's really important to select a niche for your financial services business. Then you need to identify and build a customer persona that describes your ideal client. And a really important part of that is to drill into looking at what your ideal client's pain points are, what are the problems that they have. And then once you've done all that, you can create a value proposition which explains how you solve those pain points and which will speak really strongly and directly to your ideal kind of client. And this stuff that we're talking about here will underpin all of the marketing that you do from here on. So let's start by talking about niching. So there are two reasons why you should niche your business. And if you're not sure what I mean by niching, I mean basically becoming a specialist in a certain area of your field. So for example, if you're a mortgage broker, I'm talking about rather than being a mortgage broker who markets themselves to anyone and everyone, you become the mortgage broker who specialises in a particular thing. That might be a particular kind of client, like mortgages for teachers, or a particular kind of property, like mortgages for self-builds. There are all sorts of different niches that you can use, and that's something that I go into in the courses and things that I do on niching. But basically you need to find a specialism and niche into that particular thing. And the reasons for doing that are, as I say, differentiation and easier marketing. So it will differentiate you from all the other mortgage brokers out there, because there are lots and lots of mortgage brokers, but there are only going to be a handful of mortgage brokers who specialise in, for example, mortgages for teachers or mortgages for self-builds. And it also makes your marketing easier, because if you know exactly who it is that you're trying to target with your marketing, it becomes easier to find those people. You know, so for example, if I say to you, you're a mortgage broker and your ideal client is anyone who owns a home or might be thinking about buying somewhere, that's a huge, huge market, and it becomes almost an impossible job to think, well, how do I reach those people? Whereas if you are more specific, if you say, right, my ideal clients are teachers, for example, then you can think, okay, well, where do teachers hang out? Where do I advertise to them? Well, they're going to be in schools, for example. They're going to be at conferences that are run for teachers. They're going to be reading magazines aimed at the teaching profession. And those are offline examples, but the same thing applies with your online marketing. It's easier to target people online if you know what kind of people you're looking for, because, for example, on Facebook you could target people who have particular interests. On Google Ads you can target just people who are searching things like mortgages for teachers rather than just doing general searches for mortgages, and all of that will make your marketing more effective and will reduce the costs of doing that marketing as well. So those are two really good reasons why I recommend that you niche your business if you haven't already done so. And when I'm working with clients either directly or through my group coaching program, that's always the first thing that I help them do, is select the best kind of niche for their particular situation. Once you've chosen your niche, the next stage is to develop a customer persona. So a customer persona really is like a sort of a pen portrait, if you like, describing your ideal client. You know, how old are they? What's their marital status? Have they got kids? Do they own a home? What do they do for a living? How much do they earn? What are their hobbies and interests? All those kinds of things. The more detailed you can make it, the better. And again, that makes it easier to find your clients, because if you know what kind of things they're into, then you know where to reach them with your marketing. It also means that all your communication with those clients becomes better and more effective, because the more you know about your clients, the more you can make sure that when you're speaking to them, either actually speaking to them or writing marketing material or advertising copy or whatever, that you use the same kind of language and stuff that they do, and that you're talking about things which they're really going to identify with and which will resonate with them. And if you want to know more about customer personas, I'll put a link in the description to more resources on developing customer personas, and in fact I'll do that with all of the things I'm talking about here. I'll put links through to things where you can find out more about all these things, niching, customer personas, etc. So then the next thing we need to look at is pain points, the pain points that our ideal client has. And there's a good reason for that, and that's because that there are basically two things that motivate people to buy any particular product or service, and that's either the avoidance of pain or the pursuit of pleasure. So for example, if someone is buying a ticket to the cinema, or they're going for a meal out, the motivator there is the pursuit of pleasure. If somebody is paying a dentist to extract a tooth that's causing them a lot of literal pain, that's obviously a purchase done to avoid pain. But it can also be pain in the figurative sense. So if someone is paying a plumber to come round and fix a leaky tap, then that again is a purchase that is the avoidance of pain. It's curing a problem rather than bringing about something pleasurable. And what we know from studies that have been done on this kind of thing is that the avoidance of pain is always a much bigger motivator in people's buying decisions than the pursuit of pleasure. So as a mortgage broker, as a financial advisor, it's important that you identify what the pain points and the problems and the challenges are that your ideal client has, so that you can make sure that in all your marketing you're making it very clear that you can solve those particular problems that people have. And this is where all this stuff around customer personas and niching ties in with this, because the more precise an idea you've got about who your ideal client is, the easier it's going to be to pinpoint what their likely problems and pain points are. So for example, if you've decided that you're going to niche into dealing with company directors, then it becomes much easier to think, well, a typical pain point a company director has getting a mortgage is that they may be taking a low salary and paying themselves a lot of their money in dividends, or they might be leaving money in their business rather than drawing it out, so they've got high net profits but lower personal income, and because of that they're struggling to get a mortgage. That's quite detailed stuff around their pain points, which you can then make sure through your ad copy, your website landing pages, whatever it is, but you make sure you're saying, we can definitely help with that because we have solutions, we have lenders who will look at your income the way you want them to, rather than in the more traditional just pay slips kind of way. But it's much harder to do that if you're trying to appeal to anyone and everyone, because what I've just described there would resonate really well with a company director, but it's not going to mean anything to somebody who's a PAYE employee of a big company and just gets all their money as a salary every month. That marketing message won't ring bells with them in the way that it would with a company director. So that's why niching and being clear on your customer persona makes this kind of effective marketing much, much easier. And then the fourth part of this thing about identifying your ideal client is coming up with a value proposition which will speak to that ideal client and will convey really simply and effectively the benefits and value points that you offer to that particular client. And where we generally use a value proposition is as the main headline at the top of your website or your landing page that you're sending people to generate leads. And when someone arrives on your site like that, they're going to, whether they realise it or not, have three questions in their head, which are, where am I, what can I do here, and crucially, why should I stick around and do it here rather than go off to another website and look at someone else. And if your value proposition is well written, it will answer those three questions in a split second when someone lands on your page of your website. So to create a value proposition, there's a process that I take people through where we look at what are your USPs, what are your unique selling points, and we list all of them out. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are. That's so we list all of them out, and then we go through and do a scoring process to work out which of those USPs are the most important to your ideal client, and which of them are the most exclusive. Which are the ones which aren't being offered or talked about much by your competitors. And by doing that kind of scoring process, we can then identify the top 2 or 3 value points that you have in your business, and those are what are then used to create that all-important value proposition that goes at the top of your website or the top of your landing page, and which is going to play a really big part in converting visitors to your website into leads, which obviously we'll talk about more when we get to the 3rd video in this series around converting people from visitors into leads. So I want to finish just by showing you some proof that everything I'm talking about here really does work and does make a difference. I've got a short video testimonial I'd like you to watch from a guy called Paul Tate. He's been a member of my group coaching program, the Predictable Pipeline, for quite some time. And early on in his time in the program, he took my advice to niche his business rather than being a generalist mortgage broker. And have a listen here to him talk about what results that had on the Google Ads campaign that he was running.
So David's support recently with helping me niche my business and websites has had a really significant impact. We've gone from spending the same amount of money each day to having a couple of leads, if that come through the website, sometimes no leads at all, to suddenly having multiple leads come throughout the day on the same spend. And the only difference that we've done is gone from a very generic ad and also a very generic landing page to a landing page and an ad which is much more niche and much more specific to the client need. So we've gone from a just get your remortgage today to do you need to remortgage, but have you had bad credit, adverse remortgages, bad credit remortgages, I've been declined for a remortgage, I need help, etc., that kind of thing. And it's made a dramatic difference. We're now getting leads come through with clients who are in exactly that scenario and looking for that exact help. So niching has made a huge impact versus just doing generic ads where you're then just like any other broker out there from the client's point of view when they land on your website, to suddenly being a broker who is able to offer the client the service they are actually looking for. So yeah, thank you very much, David, for all your support, and yeah, it's working really well.
So that's just one really good example of how niching your business, being really clear on who your ideal client is, can transform a Google Ads campaign, as it did there with Paul, but it can also transform any aspect of your marketing. The more time and effort you put into these foundation bits around identifying the ideal client, the more effective all the rest of your marketing will be. I hope you found this video useful. It's given you some ideas for what you need to do to prepare a solid marketing plan for your business and start getting more leads from your website. If you want to find out more about this, then a really good place to start would be to look at joining the Predictable Pipeline program, the group coaching program that I mentioned earlier. Basically in there you'll get access to a whole range of online courses that teach you more about how to choose a niche, how to write a value proposition, how to create a customer persona, all the things I've been talking about here today. As well as the courses, we do fortnightly group coaching calls and Q&A calls where you can come along, get live training on stuff, you can ask questions about what you're working on, get feedback and help from me and from the other members of the group. You get unlimited support while you're working through the courses via an online community that we've got. I've got lots of ready-made tools in there to speed up the process of implementing all this stuff, and we have a members community where you can share ideas and get help from other mortgage brokers and financial advisors. So if you want to find out more about that, then have a look at predictablepipelineprogram.com or click the link in the description, and you can find out more about that there. As I said, this is the first of a series of 3 videos. In the next 2 I'll be looking at how you do the attract part of the framework and then the convert part of the 3-step process. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss those, then do click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so as you're the first to know when I release new videos, including those ones. And if you found this video useful, please do me a favour, click the like button. That will really help me out and support the channel, and helps other people find this content as well. Thanks very much for watching. Any questions, comments, pop them down below, and I'll see you again soon for part 2 of this.